Good evening. It is the Daytrippers. It is the club on a Tuesday night, and that was Phil with the intro music. Got no proper stuff tonight to go by. It's usually Andy's job to give us the music, but he got a bit of stage fright there at the last minute. So we are brought to you by the Pitchboard Football Fan app. Giving the fans a voice, get your free download on the App Store and Google Play Store. So I'll give you a quick intro of the lads tonight. We have got Andy Young. How's it going, Andy?
Oh, good, Ray, and you?
Yeah, good. I love your view. I love the rejig and what it does there.
Yeah, just trying out different angles. There's no fear of that door opening tonight, I don't think so. I said I'd go this direction instead.
And no clock.
No clock. I got embarrassed about my clock. I've got a new clock. I have got a new clock.
I love when you have your clock out, Andy.
We've got Phil. How are you doing, Phil?
I'm fine, Ray. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Drev Towney, also known as this evening. One of the original trippers is Drev. And we've got Pete Smith over in Barcelona. How is it going, Pete?
Still on the beach, literally and figuratively speaking. I've been on the beach with the lads, and it's good. It's a good feeling.
With the lads, but no Brits because everyone's
these are all locked out, Ray. These are all locked out.
Yeah, should make it permanent, really, shouldn't he? Then we've got Keith. How you doing, Keith?
I'm good, Ray. I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, good. That's a snazzy looking top you've got on there.
It's the old New Balance crap. They're giving it away at this stage.
Big nice. Joe Walsh will buy that off you for.
Is he buying? Is he? Might be a bit big.
I like a big standout live bird.
Well, the good news is the Liver Bird is included in your new Nike kit, and you've heard this first on the Daytrippers podcast.
Exclusive.
You don't have to pay extra for your Liver Bird badge.
Right. You have to pay extra for the embroidered one.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe you pay extra for the one that's not embroidered for the
players
Vapor.
Yeah, the Vapor fit.
Yeah, we can't wait to see all these new kits being launched, and we haven't got that long to wait. So tonight we will discuss the sort of climax of the season, the last 9 games, quick assessment on that. We'll try and gloss over the Newcastle game a little bit, given that I didn't even really watch it except on Match of the Day. I did a trick that a few big fans on Twitter would normally do, and that's just watch a few highlights on Match of the Day. And then we will get into, we'll have a little discussion about the awards for Klopp and for Hendo. We'll have a discussion about the ins and outs, and then we might wrap up with a bit of talk around the Champions League, because we will obviously just be spectating this time around. So we'll come over to you first, Andy. In terms of Sunday, first of all, did you watch the game as it happened, or did you do a bit like me? Did you do a bit of flicking around?
I had a multi-screen thing going on.
Very good.
3 screens on, so it was like Sky Sports Studio. It was pretty awesome, actually.
You assembled all the TVs in the parlour, did you?
Yeah, I did. And I mean, it was one of those games I actually expected us to lose, to be honest. And I knew Gale would score. I just didn't know he'd score so early.
Yeah.
That was a banker that he'd score. But didn't really give a shit. What I was more concerned about was misery falling upon United. Unfortunately, it didn't in the end.
No, I think that was like things were happening in various games, but that was the one that just we never really got a kind of any kind of glimpse really that Leicester were going to do anything in that game.
They were fucking awful.
Yeah.
They were missing 3 of their back 4, though, in fairness.
Yeah.
Still
awful.
It was pretty pathetic, really.
Pete, I mean, that's a cup final. You know what I mean? That's Arsenal line shit. You don't. If you're missing a few players, you have to be a hell of a lot more ballsy. You have to. Your players in there have to make a name for themselves, and unfortunately, it was completely reflective on their last 5 months. Well, since January, really, football, where they managed to get 15 points. Absolutely ridiculous level of capitulation going on there. And they had one more chance to turn it around at home, and they fucked up.
Yeah. I'll give you just a sneak preview on something I'll cover in a little while. The COVID League 9-game league, Leicester ended up coming 16th in that league in the last 9 games. So it was a big, indicator how their season fell apart. Pete, did you watch Liverpool, or were you kind of?
I watched Leicester.
Okay.
Same as Andy. I was really kind of expecting, because, if you got a goal scorer like Jamie Vardy, things can happen. But the usual, it went to script. The script that we would expect, obviously, as Liverpool supporters. Leicester kind of huffed and puffed in the first half. They were terrible, but they had a huge show for the penalty. And as usual, it gets torn down. I mean, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but you've got to ask yourself, 20 penalties for Manchester United.
Unbelievable.
They get away with so many. I mean, literally, if that's Liverpool, well, you see yourself, they everyone claiming that the technical gods are smiling at us. No, I think we're 6th from bottom when it comes to those types of decisions. And the more I see, the world of football being skint, the more it seems that they need the Manchester Uniteds of this world, to be in the big competition. So I'd be a little bit skeptical about the path. I don't think Bruno Fernandes is that good, is the point I'm trying to make. So I'd be a little bit skeptical about the path they've taken. So, and I don't want to sound like John Merrow, but I'm a little bit skeptical, to be honest with you, about how
66
smooth
points.
it's been. Yeah.
66 points. Phil, did you watch football?
No. Football ended the night that City dropped those points and we won the league. Like, everything else has been completely irrelevant, right? Bar the night that we won the trophy. After that, like, we got the lads on the piss in a hotel, which is great. All our friends and family there, great. Everyone was out in the session. We find out that Klopp then is ringing Alex Ferguson at 3:30 in the morning doing prank calls. Even better again. Then we do a trophy lift. There's a billionty people outside Anfield, even though they're not meant to be there. Right? The only thing that's disappointed me out of this whole thing is that Leeds figured out a very smart way to get around the whole not being able to bring the trophy out to the lads. Just happened to have an open top bus just to help disperse the crowds.
Yeah,
and bring the lads outside, stick them on top of the open top bus so that they can hold up the trophy and say to the lads, now, you've seen us lift the trophy, off you go now for a cold shower and enjoy yourselves. And that would have been it. That would have given us the best way to finish off, because the lads had the fireworks themselves outside. We didn't need them inside the ground. They already had a massive fireworks display going. So for me, that would have been a perfect ending. But I didn't watch it, Ray, to be totally honest with you, because a bit like Andy, I actually didn't care. Like, there was literally no point. Had we finished at 96 points, it would have been a very poignant number for us to finish on. Finishing at 99 leaves me with a bit of a hollow feel, because we should have got 100 points. No, I could get the 96. I don't like the 99. You'll always be left with that sort of Burnley. That was 102. You know what I mean? That was for 101 points. That Burnley game, we had.
Well, Phil, if you're not going to get 100, you may as well get 99. It's like the counter's broke. You know what I mean?
It's not, man. We've used up 16 points we could have saved for next season. So, like, you're not getting them back. Like, and I don't. The problem for me is, if you put up a 99-point season, it's amazing. It's absolutely sack shits full of amazing that how many points we got on the board, right? But I don't think I'll be amazed. I will be amazed if a Liverpool team ever breaks that record ever again, unless it becomes a 50-team league. Like, I just don't see how that. Like, they're those seasons that where nearly absolutely everything falls your way. Like, when you think how many points we've left on the board, there's fuck all in reality, right? Like, there's you can barely argue with the 2 draws that we had, which is Everton and United, right? You can argue about the goal that United got for us, but they've.
You can argue about the Arsenal game, Phil. And another match, we beat them 6-1. I mean, that's an incredible game of football.
But Pete, it's the same. It's the same.
At least got a point there.
Yeah, and the Burnley game we should win. We have 106 million shots on target, right? And none of them go in the goal. They all just go straight at Pope. He didn't even have to dive far or anything for them, right? Yeah. So, like, they're the games. But at that stage, the league is won. So the mentality is completely different. If there's a real race going on, we don't miss those chances. There's that level of clinicalness comes up. And I just would have loved, just for this team, just for the season that we had up until the pandemic break, right? I would have loved to see that team break that 100 points barrier and become recognised as the team that got the most ever points in the best ever season ever. Because, like, remember, there's no other team, I don't think there'll ever be another team that gets 7 guards of honour before the end of the season. And it would have been nice to have the points record as well, to go to just to always have that in the record books, no matter what. Now it's going to look like it's the second best points total ever. It looked like that City had some better way of winning the league than we did, when in reality nobody won it better than we did.
I'll still take it. John, I'm
taking it all the way to the
Jono just come in there and said if we did what Leeds had done in terms of going out the ground, we'd have got absolutely slaughtered.
Outrage FC would have been. I mean, Keith talks about this all the time on Twitter. So Keith, you take this away, mate.
What am I taking?
Outrage
away,
FC would have been all over us.
It's crazy. Like, you can't do anything. There's a certain narrative around Liverpool, the city, the fans, the people, the football club, and no matter what would have happened, Liverpool would have got slaughtered. So, yeah, the open top bus, the crowds at Leeds, crowds at Coventry, the crowds on beaches, the crowds on bridges clapping for people. It goes by relatively, a few grumbles here and there. Liverpool have crowds, relatively small crowds in some cases, and they get exaggerated. And then you have a few cabbages that ruin it for everyone, and it's the whole city and the whole fan base. It's frustrating when you see that.
Yeah, what bothers me is the amount of they on Sky Sports News, they report the amount of arrests that have taken place on a yellow ticker.
Yeah.
When do you ever see that?
Yeah.
I know, 9 arrests.
It's absolutely ridiculous. On any given night around there's probably going to be 8 arrests anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not disrespect to the area, but that's it. That's a major city.
Most of them are for fashion crimes as well, yeah. So it's like they're not even for real things.
Look,
I just have a theory on that, because what Keith says, right? I think we bring some of that on ourselves, because some of our fan base go out of their way to almost police how people should be fans of other teams and what's right and what's wrong. And if you're going to hold yourself up to impeccably high standards, the problem is every team is going to take an opportunity to throw apples at us if we don't meet those high standards that we propose to put in place for other clubs. Like, I'd rather that we were down in the dregs of it, so that we could go out and do mad things like Leeds did. Like, everyone thinks that Leeds fans, most of them, are probably not the nicest bunch of fans, if we're being honest, right? And so that type of thing you'd fully expect. And to be honest with you, as a greedy fan of my club, I want to see us hold up a trophy in front of the fans. And I think there'll be an emptiness when we eventually do it. I know we're going to say, it'd be great to see it and all blah, blah, blah when the fans come back in the ground. But there will still be that intrinsic emptiness that could have been partially fulfilled by just going out to the fans behind Anfield and going, fuck it. We haven't done this in 30 years. Don't really care. They're already there. They're already there. So what's the point? What's the point in ignoring that?
We get off to a bad start and we lose 6 in our first 10 games, and then do a trophy parade. The atmosphere isn't going to be the same,
That's fairly catastrophizing there. I hope.
But you know what I mean. Like, you're not in the moment at that time. You lose the moment.
There was no way a club the size of Liverpool and we would have been in the spotlight of the world to do something like that. I mean, Leeds have got away with that because they've just been brought from the Championship and they're not really on anyone's radar. We're on everyone's radar now. I mean, we're trying to be on everyone's radar globally, and they're trying to put their best foot forward in terms of selling more jerseys across the globe. So absolutely fucking would have been absolute suicide for the club, PR suicide. They've made plenty of errors that the fans have kicked up over. That would have been absolutely ridiculous. We will have our day, and we won't lose 6 of the first 10 games. And
just worst case scenario, Andy.
There's not 6 teams.
We haven't seen a fixture list.
There's not 6 teams.
When we eventually go around the city in the bus, it's gonna be magnificent. We're quite lucky in a lot of ways that we get to live this so many times. We got to live it the night we actually mathematically won the league, and a month it was of enjoying that part. And then we got to lift the trophy, and we're going to dine out until the season starts. And then we'll win our first couple of games, and we'll be top of the league again, and we'll be sticking our fingers up to everyone across the country again. So this is fucking brilliant. And Phil, you know what I mean? I know it's disappointing not to get 100 points. This is our golden era. You want to be cleaning up. You want to be winning all the trophies. We've won loads of trophies, but we've still got plenty to do. And this team have it in them to get another season where they break 100 points to lift the FA Cup or whatever it is. Klopp will win it all at Liverpool.
Fuck off, Jerry. I never want to see us lifting the FA Cup again, ever.
It means we're doing something wrong.
I want them to take the FA Cup off the Champions Wall and burn it live on Twitter.
We'll win the FA Cup and
we'll
win the FA Cup and then we'll throw it off a bus.
Yeah, that's what I do. Sergio Ramos sit down under the wheel of the bus and say, "Good luck to you. We're never doing this tournament again." Just
look, one of the funniest things that I seen on Twitter there was a kind of it was like a rolling video of all Evertonian comments with a music track of the bill, and it was all the grasses coming out as the fans gathering at the Chelsea game, outside the Chelsea game was occurring, and it was one of the funniest things that I've seen. There's a lot of fume still on Merseyside from the blue side. There really is.
It's great to see.
It is great to see, and I think in general, the fume and trying to distract us and other people from what we've achieved has been a kind of an experience to go through over the last few weeks, because people were absolutely petrified of this league restarting, and it did restart, and we did, we got the points that we needed to win the league. So just on that, I did do it. We'll spend a few minutes here just discussing what happened in those last 9 games, who came in the bottom 3, who came in the top 3. So Keith, you're usually quite good on these sorts of things. Who would you say finished in the bottom 3 in terms of the last 9 games?
I'm going to put my neck out on Norwich.
Yeah, 0 points.
I'm going to say Bournemouth.
No, they were just outside.
Just outside.
On goal difference.
No, Brighton done well.
No.
I don't know. I'm stumped.
Crystal Palace were absolute melodrama.
There you go, Phil. Roy Hodgson managed to win that first game back and have us petrified when they come to Anfield. Well, some fans petrified. And after those 3 points, they managed to accumulate 1 more point in 8 games and sink to a lovely 14th position. Classic Roy stuff.
Yeah, it was because they were championing them for European football before that game, weren't they? They were saying, this is, Hodgson up into the top half. He hodged it then, good lad.
He properly hodged it. And then the other team, probably not a surprise, was Watford, seeing as they went down. Superb end to the day.
Ray, where was Newcastle? Because they were absolutely shite after the break.
So Bournemouth was 17th, just outside that bottom 3. Then we mentioned Leicester in 16th, and then it was Newcastle in 15th. They were pretty poor. They were pretty poor. Now Villa were in 14th. They got 10 points to keep themselves safe, and then just above them was Sheffield United, who obviously fell away. Then you've got the classic mid sort of table boys doing what they do best: Brighton in 12th, Everton in 11th, 10th West Ham, 9th Burnley, 8th Arsenal, 7th Wolves, which obviously it cost them an automatic Europa place. Now, do
you know what's happened there, right? Their last 6 games, Wolves' last 6 games, are a hodgepodge of madness because they lose the last one. I think they lose, win, draw their 3, and the 3 before that they won, loss, and loss. And it's like there's 2 losses or something in there. I think maybe to City and to somebody else that just more or less kills any chance. If they gotten 3 more points, they would have turned the table around.
They did a double over City, didn't they?
Did they do a double over City?
I think it was Sheffield. Did they lose the game against Sheffield United?
I think they lost. Yeah. That was a big one. I wasn't expecting them to lose.
Yeah.
No, Wolves are a disappointment, but in fairness, they had done so much work before the break. So much work. They probably thought to themselves, we're really going to get into the Champions League. Let's just hold on for Europe. Can't really knock them that much. They would have been one of the favourites maybe for relegation, coming into the season. You just don't know.
Yeah,
Don't
I
know
mean,
what their motivation is.
after we'd drawn that first game, I said on I think the pod after it that Liverpool would finish 6th or 7th in this mini league, and lo and behold, they finished 6th on 17 points, which gives you your top 5. So, anyone has the guess on the top 3 in the order that they finished?
City, United, and Spurs.
United have got to be first, yeah.
United,
Spurs.
Spurs. I would have thought Spurs were just ahead of us, 5th.
Arsenal did okay when they came back.
No, Arsenal were 8.
No.
They were 8th. Yeah. Your top 3 was it was actually City and United on the same points, but City with a better goal difference.
Of course, yeah. Punching holes in teams.
21 points. Third was actually a bit of a surprise when I looked at this. Southampton.
Of course, Danny Ings was on fire, wasn't
he?
He
had a great run, didn't he?
Yeah. He's done wonders. Obviously, they got hammered by Leicester 9-0, and then they actually take more points following that game than Leicester did.
What does that say about City, though? What does that say about City to you? It says to, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not afraid of them. You know, there's 2 cities, it seems, when it matters. There's the city that falls apart, and when it doesn't matter, it's like this. We say they say in Spanish, it's like translate to 4 coat and no knickers. Basically, you know, they look good, but there's nothing underneath when it matters. When it doesn't matter, it translates well. But when they,
what do you say in Spanish?
But when it doesn't matter,
L4 coat and.
but when it matters, it seems that they just completely fall apart. The night against Chelsea was just unbelievable. I mean, I know it doesn't help when they have half a ticks in that back four like Mendy, who has no place in the professional game in my view. You know, so what does it say about them, really?
What is it? So what's it? City lose 1 game and United lose 1 game.
I think City. I don't think
City lost the game.
No, I think City lost 2 games and United.
But they won the rest.
Yeah.
City lost to Southampton and they lost to Chelsea
or something.
Yeah, 7 wins, 2 losses.
So pretty much City's fucking form all season.
Yeah.
It could be any 6 games really.
But when it doesn't matter, they look like world beaters.
Yeah. That's why they got to the 100 points. The 100 points will not matter to them.
Doesn't matter. It's the pressure's off. So it says more to me about Guardiola, really, to be honest.
You hate Guardiola's good.
It's not that I hate him. I think he's.
You understand him.
But when because I live here, I think when the cameras are on, for example, he knows it, and he's pulling players over, especially a player that's done. If a player's done really well, he'll want to be seen to be looking at that player, saying to that player, "You could be doing so much better if you do this." It's all for fucking show with this guy.
To be fair,
don't say
Kev O'Sullivan echoes the point that's been sitting in my head across the whole thing. The last 9 games are something that we will never be able to really adjust for what went on with different teams, because without the crowds being there, like United were able to thrive with no fan pressure on them whatsoever, right? Because Old Trafford has turned into a caustic pit of disgust.
Prawn sandwich.
Yeah, as soon as things aren't going right for them the first 10 seconds, it was just turning against them, right? City are used to playing in empty stadiums all the time because they've no one there. They may as well just buy out the cardboard crowd that they have, or the 11 supporters that stand at one end, right? And turn their back to the world. But like, you look at the likes of Villa, and you look at the likes of Bournemouth, and even Crystal Palace. I'll say one thing about Palace. I know it's Roy Hodgson, but he normally has 33% win record, right? So we know the algorithm that exists when it comes to Hodgson. But one of the big things that was missing for Palace is they've one of the best, noisiest crowds in the whole Premiership, right? And you could see that impacts them, because there's nothing for the players to feed off of. And I'd even go as far as saying that our players, when we were getting towards the end and trying to get to a points mark or whatever it was, there was times when they, like the Burnley game was a classic example when they needed the fans there to
need a lift.
Give them the extra 2-3%. And similarly, the Arsenal away game, our away ends are always brilliant, right? And if things are going against us, how many times has that away end got the team to pull through? You think about the Aston Villa game where it looked like we were going to die on our feet earlier on in the season, and the fans are still bouncing around when it comes to the last 5-10 minutes, and so all of a sudden the game is on its head, and we go and win that game. So you can't underestimate the impact of the fans not being in the grounds for all those different teams, because the form Bucks are just like for an awful lot. Like you talk about Leicester there falling off a cliff. The Leicester fan base have been very supportive of that team up to the point, and it's only really like I know they were shit after Christmas, right? But they weren't as shit as they were for those 9 games. Like it doesn't make any sense. The Newcastle team clearly fed off the fans that were in St James's Park, and there was nothing there to drag them through what was in it. And then Norwich's fans are huge. Right, like Norwich's fans are one of the biggest things when they did come up and the noise. Remember the hate that they used to give Suarez and even like I remember the noise that we went to Carragher Road and Suarez was playing. Like it was mad. But
it drove him.
Yeah, so there was nothing there for those teams, particularly when there's something to fight. There was nothing there when your back is to the wall and you're fighting for it and the fans are behind you and they're screaming you on and they're egging you on, and that gives you that extra 5-10%, which can change a 1-0 to a 2-0, or it gets them to turn on the Hawkeye before the game starts, so instead of a goalkeeper drives over the line with the ball, that they're able to get the little buzz in the ear to know that they're not there. Like that's the worst. I'm glad Bournemouth are going to sue the Premier League for being relegated. I'm 100.
And they're going to win. They're going to win, by the way. It's a straight up legal precedent. They're going
from money, from a money perspective.
They'll get a few quid in that.
Yeah. No, they're going to win. They're not going to stay in the Premier League.
Hawkeye will say that there was enough eyes that should have seen that. Technical error.
It's their job.
Move on. Doesn't determine that. It just meant the goal was disallowed.
A good lawyer will say it's the Hawkeye's sole purpose that when enough eyes don't see it, that it's their responsibility. This is it's a slam dunk for someone fresh out of law school. They're going to pay. I mean, Bournemouth are going to be paid as if they're going to be in the Premier League next year, but they'll be in the Championship. They won't be reinstated.
They will not. We want money, no money.
They won't be reinstated.
No chance.
They'll get an extra 5
I think what you forget about Pete when it comes to law, he knows this game.
He knows that game as well.
Fresh out of law school.
Fingers out.
The fingers out.
I'll give you a buzz in the morning.
Now another team who would normally be, I'd say, negatively impacted by fans, but finished in the top half and were actually sort of decent, playing some decent football and scoring a few goals, was West Ham. That stadium,
so toxic.
Nothing for them. The fans, I mean, they were never the greatest bunch.
They need their racist. Mohamed Salah running down the wing. They get their racist hanger 18 crew, whatever they're bleeding called, and they try to intimidate. I really wanted to see West Ham go down. Really, they are the most toxic racist fans in the Premier League. West Ham, them and Chelsea. If you do the racist league, you'll have Chelsea and West Ham right up there.
We might do that one night, Pete, especially for you.
You're the most racist.
I don't think Andy's approving. Gav's falling off his chair now and is urgently trying to send a message to Keith.
Legal letters coming in the door.
A legal letter that says, you have alleged that Chelsea fans are racist. Ooh. And also that water is wet and the sky is blue. Oh well.
Look, an embargo from the racist league table podcast.
We will move it on to something a bit more tangible, should we say?
Less libelous.
Yeah. And that's
before we go on, I want to move to something a bit more boring. There's 62 people watching and 22 people liking, so anyone in the chat there, just hit that
very
like
good.
button.
Hit the like.
Smash it.
In fact,
if you log
out the word,
exactly.
Log out and log into your burner and smash that like button.
Those extra 100 likes you normally get is me logging in through all my burners.
There you go.
Have Dendrick, Trev Downey.
So we'll move on. We'll move on to the awards, and obviously, great to win all the trophies. By the way, before we go on to the personal awards, the amount of outrage at the fact that we've had all of the trophies on the pitch. I mean,
I don't understand this. I don't. This is beyond stupidity from people moaning about this, right? So normally, in the normal run of events, we would have handed back the Champions League trophy to UEFA at this point, right? Yeah. The fact is, we don't hand back that trophy until August, which means that we are the holders until August. Okay,
they're only on the quarter-final stage of the Champions League.
Correct.
We're still the holders.
Yeah. We are the holders until the start of August, when we hand back the trophy, because that's when the semis are scheduled to start again, and that's when so we are the current holders of the Champions League, we're the current holders of the Premier League trophy, we're the current holders of the World Club trophy, we're the current holders of the Super Cup trophy, we're the current holders of the FA Premier Asia Cup, we're the current holders of the under-19s, Brackley Beans Premier League, Division 3Z. So if we want to put all those trophies on it, we can, because we're the holders.
Well, Sean Lawson made the point as well, and I thought it was well made. When you own a Champions League trophy, and this is a message to Manchester City and Chelsea supporters. When you own one, you can do what you like.
Yeah, David Walsh is spot on. I think at this point, given that we've seen more positive tests in the Real Madrid side, right? Honestly, I think they need to null and void the Champions League.
Absolutely, human lives at stake.
It's the only right thing to do at this point. You can't fly all those teams in from all over Europe, especially when it's just too dangerous.
Reckless.
It is reckless.
And not only that,
I think you just leave it as it is. Like the Premier League, Liverpool won the Premier League fair and square. No arguments there. The City won the Carling Cup. Huge asterisks on that, because Liverpool were made play a game over in Qatar the day before.
Massive.
They were playing a quad final. So huge asterisks on that one, and then null and void everything else.
Well, Mariano, the Madrid player, tested positive for COVID-19 yesterday. So
I think he's playing with that tour team. I don't think
he's in the 4-team squad. So at the end of the day, it's I think null and void it. It's the responsible thing to do.
The way I say it now is Pete, with 6 Patriots players now opting out of the NFL season for the coming year, there's no way we can play the Champions League. None whatsoever. It's just like it would be criminally the wrong thing to do. Where are all these professional footballers meant to go on their holidays? You know what I mean? Where are they meant to go on the holidays? It's just completely wrong. And it's like, you can't be expecting fellas to go to what happens if the City team go there and then there's a lockdown, like what happened with all the tourists? They're not allowed to go to Spain. And the Spanish lads aren't allowed to go to England, so we can't do
unless they're getting their eyes tested.
Then they have to isolate for 14 days.
How can they play the second leg?
There is no second legs.
Well, there is second legs, but they're all in Portugal, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's not even a real competition. It's not even a real competition. I'm outraged. I don't know about you, but this is outrage.
The game is gone. The integrity of the game is gone.
Yeah, I think what capped it off for me was the Marlins baseball team having to stop games. So I think when that's happening in America, why would we have a Champions League? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So look, we got all the photos. We got all the photos in anyway, which I thought was absolutely magnificent. Getting those 4 trophies on the Anfield pitch, and then to add to that, personal awards for Henderson and Klopp. We'll start with Klopp. And
Kevin De Bruyne should have won the LMA Managers of the Year. Yeah. That's another outrageous point. Kevin De Bruyne should have been the Manager of the Year.
Harry Kane is claiming it.
We'll come to you, Andy, on Klopp. What's as if the man couldn't really get any better in our eyes. He's obviously got this personal award now to rub a few people up the wrong way. Like, what's 30-second assessment?
Yeah, I mean, it's good, because every time he's given the opportunity to kind of give himself a small bit of praise, he totally deflects it. You know what I mean? He hands the praise to the fans. This was your doing, the players, the coaches, everybody but himself. So for him to be handed that big, huge, massive trophy by Alex Ferguson and all the managers, there you go. And just a little reminder, there'll be a photograph there forever with him sitting holding that award. He is the best manager in England, and he is the best manager in the whole wide world and universe and beyond. He deserves that award forever.
Should rename it the Jurgen Klopp Award instead of the Alex Ferguson.
For waking Ferguson up at 3 o'clock.
Lads, just tell me this, right? Please tell me they did a Saturday swap shop with it. Swear, where Ferguson goes to hand in the trophy into the screen, like off screen, like, here we go, and then you see Klopp going, "Oh, thank you very much." I
think they missed the boat with that one there.
Yeah, they need you producing those shows, Phil.
I know, my memory goes back to the early 80s, so I remember the Noel Edmonds Saturday swap shop where the lads used to be the most amazing thing ever. They had like a fake television, and remember, Pete, you might remember, they opened the door and he'd pass it into the window, right? And then Keith Chegwin was at the other end, and it'd come out like this. Go, oh, look, thanks very much. And he'd pass it back.
Filmed on the Thursday, of course.
Yeah. Immense. That's what television's all about.
I am curious as to how United fans kind of feel about their kind of former legendary manager handing over, awards to Jurgen Klopp.
But both clubs have bigger fish to fry. Manchester City have kind of distorted that hatred. It's a little bit strange. You get a few hangers on Twitter, whatever, or even around, kind of complaining about this. Now they've gone from having 20 championships to all of a sudden it's 13 to 1. So things like that are sticking around. But they seem to be outweighed by, I don't know, but by Manchester City and Chelsea haters. That seems to be the new hatred. Whereas I can see a new kind of almost respect, because Liverpool supporters, the ones that I've seen, seem to really respect. I mean, we grew up, all of us, with Alex Ferguson as being the pariah. But when he got sick, I think all of us to a man were like, this is terrible. We really want him to be well. No, genuinely. It was almost like if it would.
It'd be like if you told me that Roy Hodgson was sick, I wouldn't shout.
No, I don't wish him.
If Roy is watching, that's Phil.
I think there's a respect there. Now that he's not in the game anymore, I hope Alex Ferguson lives to be 150. Honestly, now that he's not in a position
he gets to see every single league title we win. He gets to see us not only just on our perch, but on top of the tree.
Yeah.
Surpassing number 20
was the manager of the year award in 5 years.
I think there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance that Fergie will check out if we're close to a 21-point lead with 7 games to go next year.
I'm not even getting involved in this. Have some respect for him.
Well, United are firmly in the next year's year sort of phase of their heartbreak at the moment. So it's nice to see.
Come here, Ferguson has been so disrespectful to Liverpool over the years. He's been a scumbag at times. Obviously, that's not like any way justified making snide remarks about him, like Phil.
But I'm going.
I didn't make a snide remark. We're gonna from public life.
We're gonna do all of this way more classy than they did. Jurgen Klopp is adored across the league. Only a couple of managers have kind of rubbed him up the wrong way, like Lampard, but they all love him. They all adore him, and it's very hard not to love him. And he's very, very classy in the way he goes about his business. He doesn't need to be a dickhead to any other clubs like that, or try and.
You say that, Andy, but right. The best bit of this whole thing is the fact that Klopp was ringing him at 3:30 in the morning, screaming, "We're the champions!" down the phone.
Trolling him, like.
So, to me, that's the creme de la creme. It's like that's what you want. Like all the crap the Ferguson went on about knocking us off our perch and the whole lot, right? And then we go. There's the bell, Jurgen. Here, lads, hang on. I bet you. Come here. Put the music down. Turn the music down. Turn the music down. Champion!
Mrs. Fergie going mad in the scratch up beside him. Monica or Brandy, whatever her name is. Here, that phone's ringing again.
Hey, I'm making snide comments, but I will say one thing. Right, I have to say, to be fair, it looks like Ferguson thought it was hilarious that he did take the funny side of it. Right? Oh yeah. I don't think it'll take the funny side of it if we win the league next year. Because he is that petty.
Well, it's real to them now, but everything is real, Well, there's only 1 or 2 trophies between us now, and we're on the upside. But to overtake the 20, which I fully expect us to, it's going to be a real problem for them.
They're banking on this being a flash in the pan, aren't they? They're banking on this being a one-off.
I mean, it's what I love to see is the fact that they seem to be invested in the long term in Harry Maguire. I mean, that tells me everything I need to know. They won't compete. They won't compete at the top of the league with Harry Maguire at the centre of the defence and that captain. So I don't care if they sign Leo Messi. You have to be able to defend to compete for trophies, and with him in the team, no, absolutely no chance.
Yeah, the Lampard thing was interesting though, wasn't it? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if the English press in particular, tried to create a narrative next season.
No, I think Lampard was doing that for the benefit of his own team. You must remember he 2 major finals ahead of that. you know, he had the Manchester United semi-final of the FA Cup, and then he had his Champions League qualification final. So that's more Lampard, I think, borrowing from the Jose Mourinho playbook of us against them, or you know, I don't even think that was about Liverpool. It was more about Lampard and his players and trying to adopt
he doubled
that
down, I
system.
think, in his press conference then, didn't he, when he had a chance to, you know, roll back. He kept the rugby.
But that's the part where he's a prick. You know, you're dealing with someone that was brought in. He was brought in, you know, off the back of the Roman Abramovich era and spoiled rotten. The whole team built around him. And by the way, Frank, you can cheat. You're a midfielder, but you're really going to play off the front. You know, you can do what you want. Let's be honest. Frank Lampard is a prick. Do you know what I mean? But in fairness, would you want to play for him? For me, yeah, I think it's more about that was more about him. But I think he's borrowing very much from the Mourinho playbook.
Yeah. I mean, Chris Brack believes that, you know, that was the pressure hitting Lampard. He was, as you say, he was facing his cup finals, and they were in real danger of missing out. And maybe he did just snap there. I mean, you know, it was still in the balance going into that Wolves game. You know, when's
the last time Chelsea conceded 5 goals? By the way,
well, I just think we've played them so many times this season. So there is that element. Like, we played them in the Super Cup, we played them in the FA Cup, we played them twice in the league, we played them in
the reserves.
We played them in Marbles.
League.
We played them in dancing in the lockdown. We just keep seeming to getting drawn against them. I'd say at some stage though, you just get to that point where it's just like, oh, for fuck's sake,
I'm bored of these cunts. Yeah.
And if you keep losing the matches as well, that must do your head in as like that's just going to get your back up all the time. Particularly when, you know, they without Kante, the big game changer for Chelsea has always been when they have Kante and when they don't have Kante, and they're missing Kante for that run in, and they were as inconsistent as any other team in the league. Like and that's how they go from being towards. They finish in a spot worse than they were last year, and less points. But Lampard is a genius.
Yeah,
no,
and last season he got the UEFA Cup as well and got ran out of town.
Exactly. If you don't have a decent centre half and you've a goalkeeper who looks like he's a 16-year-old frightened kid, what the fuck do you expect?
Smoky hands.
I mean, they were trying to get rid of Olivier Giroud, and I'm sorry, he's been their best player.
And he could easily, you know, win them an FA Cup final. I mean,
he will.
You know what I mean?
I think Abramovich is interested again because he can't go anywhere. He's stuck in the gaff. He can't go off to different places and stuff because it's pandemic time. So he said, "May as well."
To be fair, the money they spent is money they brought in on transfers. That's all it is. We haven't seen any evidence that they're going to return to this ridiculous spending. They've £1 billion in debt towards him, that may or may not ever be called in. I don't know whether the club has sold his legal obligations to call that in, or what would happen to it. But there's £1 million or £1 billion in debt owed to him. He won't make that go any higher. It will. That club will be just run as Liverpool is, in line with FFP. I don't think there's only going to be any shenanigans.
Yeah, you're right. I think UEFA will double down on FFP now. I mean, this was a major slap in the face for them as an organisation. Even legally, they're shambles. I mean, it's embarrassing.
I would say the only player I've seen so far that I'm jealous that we didn't get is Pulisic.
Yeah, he's top player.
I think he would have been brilliant in their front three as an alternate for Mane or Salah. And when I say an alternate, this idea that here's our first 11 that ever changes. I think if you've got a Pulisic, he's an equal to the two of them and gets rotated in and out.
It's a funny one though. You know, he's exploded since the COVID thing. Let's see what he does next season. I mean, for a player to be really truly rated at the top of his game, he needs to play every single match and become their hazard. He has to do more than 6 games really.
He got in Joe Cole's team of the year. Did you see that? Joe Cole's team of the year. Pulisic was in it. He's
a lovely player on the eye, but. Let's just see.
It's funny, the camera went to Klopp after he scored that goal, and there was a real kind of sense of appreciation from Klopp there, you know.
He wanted him. He clearly wanted him. What can you do?
Yeah.
Cock of the block here, right? Who would you take, Pulisic or Fernandes?
Kante.
Pulisic.
Yeah, Pulisic.
Those two would take Pulisic.
You know, what does Fernandes give you? again, I would always ask, what does Fernandes give you off the ball? You know,
Frank
I would
Lampard with a tan as
Smiles.
well.
Well,
Smiles.
I made that comment to you know, a United fan and a decent United fan, not a sap, and he says that Fernandes has been doing phenomenal work off the ball, that he has been grafting, that he has been covering a lot of ground. I'd like to see that reflected in numbers to see is he, but to me he's luxury, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when they are up against it. I mean, so far he's been a flat track bully.
And you think you said this before. We said this about Luis Garcia, and we said this about every other sort of luxury player we've had over the last 30 years. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah, he really is a grafter. He's doing all the work. Look, you'd say anything when you think you're in the scutter and you're looking for something to hang your hat on, you know. And you know,
which can you explain to me, Keith, how are they going to facilitate Paul Pogba and Fernandes in the same team with Nemanja Matic being expected to pick up the slack in midfield? How is that possible? I mean, Scott McTominay is not ready, you know, to do that kind of work or to read that kind of game unless he's a phenomenon. Exactly. What you know? And they're talking about bringing in Jadon Sancho. They're talking about bringing in all of these players, you know, who have an attacking mindset. Who's going to pick up the slack? Unless there's a sneaky bid coming in for Jordan Henderson and Jorginho Wijnaldum, because these are the two types of players that you would need to sit in behind all of those guys. I mean, is Kevin Keegan taking over? Are they building that, you know, front five that we don't know about? Are they that confident? Plus, they've got Harry Maguire in defence, who is the worst, slowest player and the worst reader of a football match I've ever seen. And David De Gea, who doesn't even want to be there. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who has his second touch is a tackle. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well. It is a shambles. Wait to see them in the Champions League next year when they come up against anyone.
You're dead right. A good team, a continental team will tear them apart. Because Pete, you're dead right there. Fernandes and Pogba are a luxury, and it's well and good, as Phil said, you're playing with no crowd, you're playing with no pressure, you come back and your fixture list is extremely kind. They're going to steamroll teams. When they're in against, for argument's sake, let's say a Bayern Munich or Juventus or an Atletico Madrid, you know, they're going to get absolutely outrun. Like McTominay will probably grow into that. Matic is just like a bleeding fridge.
Can't see it. McTominay's a young, fit lad. That's it.
The one thing you would say about Fernandes, though, I mean,
who are these people?
He's a perfect fit for United because they get 20 penalties a season. So, you know, and he can put a penalty away. I'll give him that.
Well, I have to say, if he came to Liverpool and he was doing that jumpy penalty so early in his career, that would piss me off, because
you got a slap in the back of the head. That
screams. That to me screams as I've made it. I'm here. Look at me. You know, I mean, I'm top dog here now. Fuck that shit. When he misses a penalty doing that, he'd be absolutely raging.
Hasn't missed a top flight Premier penalty, 16 out of 16. But I wouldn't mind. They were raving about him against Chelsea because he done that hoppy penalty, and it's like he invented a new technique. Literally, Jorginho's been doing it for years.
Yeah, every week. On the same every week. And by the way, he does it even better. He doesn't even go for the corner. Jorginho just waits for the goalkeeper to commit the other way and puts it right by his foot. It's a beautiful thing. It's a controlled goalkeeper.
Just while we're talking about this, do you know what's actually offended me and annoyed me a lot this week? And it really has, right? You know the way you get to this time of the season and you see lots of team of the years, right?
Yeah.
And you look at them and you think people are being paid to write this shite down on a piece of paper.
Clickbait.
No, forget clickbait. Because normally I'd say, yeah, but then you look at the people who are writing it and they actually believe this stuff. Like, this is the scary part, and they're paid for an opinion that they believe in this. Like, when I look at it, if your team of the year doesn't include Mane and Salah, doesn't include Henderson, who is the players' player of the year, doesn't include, I'd argue and say Fabinho, and doesn't include
Van Dijk,
4 of our back 5, then you're waffling, because you can't have that many points. You can't be that many points clear in the Premier League and put anybody else into that team. I'd argue that you'd find a place to put De Bruyne into the team, and you might find a place to put somebody else into the front three and leave Firmino out. That's probably about it. Like, I'd probably stick Sterling into the front three if I was going to pick one to go in there with De Bruyne from City in there, and then I'd probably stick in. See, it's very hard to put Laporte in. He only plays 4 months or whatever it was.
That's another myth. That guy.
Yeah, and there's been quite a few players gone into those team of the years who've only really played
half a season,
second half of the season. I'm reading the comments here, like John O'Shout there, Garth Crook says that Maguire is in his team.
Yeah.
I mean, what an absolute shite bag. And then
True.
Keys and Gray, I did see that clip. They were talking about Salah and Mane leaving. It was like a comedy sketch. These guys are struggling to produce content at the moment, and I do.
No one's watching.
Think that,
I mean, they're out in Dubai. You
have to.
their arse.
I don't know. They're in a garage in Birmingham in some industrial estate, like with a green screen. The pair of them, like fuck it, like it's like one of those service stations yards. Like they're in the back of a truck or something like that, and they slip into fucking Greg's for their lunch. No, bollocks.
Definitely anti-Gray does, yeah.
Absolutely.
Hairy hand sex dungeon it is with the green screen up.
It was only banter, wasn't it, Richard?
Look, they're on the wind up as well. Like everybody knows Gray hates Liverpool. Well, both of them do. So they're sitting each other, like wanking each other off, talking about
around FC.
Just trying to piss Liverpool fans off. But we're laughing our heads off them. They were kicked out of the biggest sports
contract in football.
Yeah.
Because they Brexited before Brexit, weren't they? They were ran out of England.
John fucked up.
Yeah, John O's just said as well, another source of kind of attention-seeking talk sports. They had a centre-back partnership of Connor Cody and
I saw that.
Harry
Adrian
Maguire.
Durham, though. Adrian Durham, the usual shy. I think he had who's the young player he had in goal, and there was a load of comments from people genuinely. I don't know.
Harry Ramsgate.
Who don't know who did. A lot of people didn't know who he was. I mean, Nick Pope, for Christ's sake.
Was it Ramsdale?
Was it Ramsdale? Was it?
Yeah,
it's the Bournemouth goalkeeper.
Yeah.
If you're not going to pick Alisson, or the other Brazilian boy that the cheats have, you've got to go with Nick Pope. I mean, Nick, for the game against us alone. Do you know what I mean? It was like Mandrake the magician. But he goes, but this is what they do.
These shitheads wouldn't even make it into your fantasy team.
Yeah,
exactly.
For 4.5 million.
But did you see? did you see when Crooks done his team of the year and he done a little write up about them? And Virgil van Dijk, he said he did have him in his team, in fairness, but he said, he what more can Liverpool offer Virgil van Dijk? Barcelona and Real are both looking for investment, looking to invest in a superstar. Surely it's the end of the road for Van Dijk at Liverpool. Like, these people get paid to write this crap. Do you know what I mean? These people get paid.
Gareth Brooks,
we do this for free and they get paid.
Gareth Brooks,
Virgil standing in front of the Premier League.
Exactly.
The Champions League, Super Cup, World Cup, and he's wearing the nicest pair of Air Max ones I've ever seen in my entire life.
You must have 100 pairs of them, not a speck of dirt on them.
He is absolutely loving life right now.
Of course he is.
These guys are just...
Well, hang on, Andy. Barcelona are £800 million in debt.
Transfers.
Do you know what I mean? No, we won't. But Barcelona are £800 million.
Don't care about Barcelona.
They're gone.
I hope they're not allowed to have anyone in because he's out in lockdown again in Catalonia. So there's nobody allowed out. They're never going to get to play football again. Thank God, because I horrible club.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we used to have a problem trying to sign players because we were too shit to sign them. Now we struggle to sign players because they know they won't get a game.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's the big issue that we have. No one is trying to replace Firmino. Everyone that's coming in, for example, is going. And this is what I laugh when people try to dog Firmino. Oh, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. Yet no centre forward will sign for us. You know what I mean? Because they know they're just going to be sitting in behind him because they can't do what he does, and he's just one. He's just one player. So it's very, very. It is a problem, and I would imagine that Michael Edwards, has a list of people that will solve that problem. So we're probably going to spend the next couple of transfer windows being underwhelmed by the names that are being brought in, but hopefully seeing them come in and do good jobs, when called upon,
Yeah, look, we are in transfer. I hate all of this personally, the whole transfer sagas. The transfer agenda show is going to be something that Gav and Grizz front for the rest of the summer. And the deadline is actually, I don't know why they're doing this, but anyway, the deadline is all the way out to the 5th of October. May as well be Christmas at this stage.
Christmas.
May as well just have it open for half the season. But yeah, it's all the way through to the 5th of October. So this is peak Grizz season. He's in his element now.
Can I just say, right, because we haven't covered off, like, I just want to, and if you're watching tonight, I just want to say, Dejan, thanks for everything you've done as a Liverpool player. You know, you've gotten slaughtered on this podcast, but you've also gotten fair rep, because we've always said that you're a good defender, not a great defender, but you are a good defender. And wish all the best at Zenit St. Petersburg in Stalingrad.
We can all only speak for ourselves. You know what I mean? I never slaughtered him.
Yeah, you don't slaughter anyone.
Well, in fairness, I like any player who puts it in for the short. Yeah. I mean, I always picture it like, if I got the chance to do that, I'd break my bollocks. And nothing I hate worse than a player that doesn't put it in, that a player takes that short for granted. We had it with Paulson, Konchesky, and we had it with
Skrtel, Johnson.
No, we didn't. We had it with Balotelli. We had it. There's been quite a few dickheads like that have come and took the piss out of that short, and that grinds on me, nothing worse. But Lovren, he made lots of glaring errors. The type of mistakes he made were really, really obvious. Just silly, stupid mistakes that you don't expect to see.
This fella has come to this club, and he basically got he was part of a team that got Champions League qualification nearly every year he was at the club. He's gone to a Europa League final. He's gone to 2 Champions League finals. He's
man of the match in one of them.
Well, yeah, he won the Premier League. He's won the Premier League title with us. He's finished runners up once with this team as well, and they've gone to a League Cup final. Right now, there are fellas like Lucas, like Skrtel, who are venerated by the fan base, who basically took this club down a really dark alley, and all we could manage to do is finish somewhere between 6th and 8th when these fellas are at the club. Yet they're still loved and cherished more than a player like Lovren is, because when Lovren made a mistake, it wasn't just a mistake; it was an absolute cat's monkeys in terms of what's gone on with the type of mistake.
Phil hates Lucas.
He also managed to squeeze in a World Cup final as well. Don't
I know? And he also scored some amazing goals and some important goals for us. So
that period of his life. Do you know what I mean? That's
all I'm saying to you is, a player like that, okay, he had his issues. He wasn't the best player in the world. However, he was a perfect option as a 4th-choice centre-back this season across the course of a Premiership winning campaign. He never, ever gave anything than his 100% in the short, and I wish him all the best. And when we're talking about legends, that fella is going to be, that should be remembered and honoured more than the other fellas that I mentioned, because none of them achieved anything with this club. None of them.
Yeah, and Phil, look at what if anyone that slaughtered him day in, day out, week in, week out on podcasts and on Twitter, what have they achieved?
Well, they've also started Henderson. They've also started Henderson, same people.
Well, these guys, Dejan Lovren played for Liverpool for 6 fucking years. Like, I mean, there must have been something that the manager seen in him.
Yeah,
I was a high-profile signing at the time. You know, I mean, the money spent on him, was it 25 million at the time, was reasonable. I know where we're at now with Virgil and Maguire, but at that time it was still a pretty decent chunk of change to spend on him.
But Klopp didn't sign
11 million. But lads, we're after getting 11 million quid back on this signing as well. So it's
41
not like
years
he's
old.
gone at 31. And it's like the Lallana going as well. I haven't mentioned him going. Like, I wish
go for it. I
wish him all the best. When he signed, I thought he was a good player, not a great player. I thought he was going to be a very good player for us in the Premier League. I thought he'd struggle in Europe, and it panned out that way. And
he was good. He was good when he was fit. He was very good when he was fit, and Klopp loves him. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really aware of all of that. To be honest, he's had an emotional goodbye. I mean, Lovren's kind of just slipped out the door there. I mean, seeing him in the short, it's like, what the fuck? Like, it just seemed to happen so quickly. But Lallana, with what he's written to the fans and his interview about Henderson and what Klopp has done about him, has said about him, he must have been a massive, massive part of everything behind the scenes. Just as we know James Milner, we talk about James Milner, how important he is behind the scenes. Like, all these guys deserve credit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
built
we
a
see
squad
there's
of
an awful
leaders.
Yeah,
haven't we?
there's an
Like,
awful
leaders
lot.
all over it.
There's an awful lot we don't obviously get to see behind the scenes. We get snippets of it now on the club social media feeds and whatnot, but really, you know, inside the heartbeat of that club of players, obviously like Lover and Lallana, that, you know, we won't, I suppose, know the true shift in the dynamic when they've gone until it's kind of happened. But as you say, Keith, there's leaders all over the place, and I think there's enough there to absorb even big characters going, even if they weren't giving us stuff week in, week out on the pitch. So
okay, can I ask Ray, like, and it's just a question for everyone, like, the sort of tune is changing really when it comes to what Klopp sort of answers to questions around the transfer market. And we were, like, 3 weeks ago, he was saying we're not going to do any deals whatsoever, and now by the time we got, I think his last press conference was like, well, we aren't going to rush into anything, but we're definitely looking at what our options are. Like, clearly he's saying if we're talking about Lallana and Lovren are gone already, right, and both of them would have been active parts of the squad, as opposed to players like Klein and maybe even Shaqiri, who haven't been an active member of the squad across the course of the season. So he's obviously looking at how does he bring players in, either young players or players on a free, or experienced players to plug those gaps. So where do we think, lads, how many signings do you reckon we're going to make, and where do you think those positions will be?
I don't think he has to. Sorry, Andy, I was going to pick on one thing there. I don't necessarily think he has to replace Lallana per se. He's got Harvey Elliott there waiting in the wings. If Shaqiri goes as well, then maybe we do need to bring someone in. But for me, it's the centre back now that we need. With Matip, it's already been mentioned somewhere in the comments there. You know, Matip is not Mr. Reliable when it comes to injuries. You know, we all know that Gomez has injury setbacks in his history. It was Stephen O'Connor who mentions Matip's persistent injuries. Centre back is the one for me. I mean, what are you thinking, Andy?
I'll get to that in a second. I was just seeing a comment there, Marber Dange. He just says Klopp kept Lallana and Lovren in for so long because of the professionalism and work ethic. They're most likely leaders in the dressing room. It's going to be hard to replace these personalities. These guys obviously led by example. When you look around you and everybody's bursting their bollocks and training, it makes it a lot easier for other players, young players, to raise to that standard. So you know, players of that sort of ilk who are prepared to put it in, day out, they're hard to come by, and Liverpool look long and hard to identify them type of players who will do that. And young players coming up through the academy aren't going to be the shining examples. Okay, they're going to be great kids and everything else. They're talented. We've seen plenty of them, but we will have to bring in a couple of experienced players. And when I say experienced, maybe like 24, 25-year-olds. And certainly centre-back. For a long time, I said one of Lovren or Matip has to go, because we can't keep the two of them. We can't keep chopping and changing between Gomez in for 6 games, Matip in, Lovren in. You got to have a player who, when all the chips are down, is going to be there fit every single week, just like Virgil is. So we certainly need to be looking out there for someone who has the ability to play in the Premier League winners team, and has the experience to play to the standard and train to the standard that Klopp expects, and to replace those personalities like Lovren and Lallana in the dressing room.
Yeah, that's why for me, another one that you wouldn't really necessarily want to see go now is probably James Milner, because he's another one of these leaders in the dressing room. Like, if you lose him in addition to the other two, you're like, what you're getting in the dressing room and around the training ground and whatnot, you might lose. I mean, Keith, like, what's your thoughts on the kind of the balance between kind of, you know, these leaders within the club and the rest of the players?
I thought right before the COVID-19 happened, I thought this summer Klopp was going to break the squad up. I thought he was going to sell Genie, and I thought Milner would have moved on. And I still think that could happen now. And all the talk coming out is that Origi looks like he could be on his way out as well. I think it could be a sneaky ruthless summer by Liverpool here, in that they've got rid of Lovren, they've moved on Lallana and Klein. I mean, that's nearly between 250 and 300 grand a week cleared off the wage bill as well as getting 11 million in for Lovren. But I wouldn't be surprised if they probably did sell another couple of big players. It's a lot of leaders going out, but is the culture now at Liverpool that Klopp is trying to install is that Curtis Jones can step in as a 19-year-old and not be afraid to express himself, and not be afraid to, pull people up. And that's one of the things that they've said in training and all. He's been excellent. He's not being afraid to, call out a bad pass by Salah, or a no pass by Salah most probably. And he's got that in him, and that they're sort of developing that even in the homegrown players. So I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they'll get rid of Milner and Wijnaldum, but I definitely could see one of them moving on this summer. And it is a lot of leadership going.
Yeah,
I think it could be busy.
Just back on the centre-back question, Ramez Khalil mentions Vertonghen potentially. Anyone up for Vertonghen?
But is Vertonghen not? He's always injured as well, isn't he?
He hasn't got the pace though to play that high line. I think we're going to look, as much as I slaughter Gomez. He's learning, but he's got the physical attributes to really do a job for us. I think I agree with Chris Brack. Personally, I think in his head anyway. Our centre forward, our backup centre forward, unfortunately, the big man has said his goodbye. So we'll bring in something. I mean, Phil Casey made a point earlier in the season. Is Brewster the answer to the backup? I don't think quite yet. I think they might leave him at Swansea, particularly if Swansea get promoted to the Premier League. So we'll bring in another centre forward. I think we bring in a centre back as well. Definitely not Vertonghen, has got the pace to do it. Something young and maybe something from Germany. I think we bring in an experienced midfielder. Jones is the future in there, hopefully, but I think we bring in something with experience. Too early. And I think what we're forgetting as well is we can't risk a burnout to Robertson. I think we need to. I know the other young lad has done well, and when he switched over to left back in that game, he was exposed a little, So for me, we bring in a backup left back as well. So for me,
definitely bring in four.
Yeah, four players for me.
Back midfielder and an attacker.
A lot of comments for Sarr off Watford. To me, he's made for a club team. Yeah. I think his attitude is incredible, and he's quick. And he had that kind of moment with Mane, didn't he, when he was at Anfield after he missed a couple of chances. I think Liverpool will be all over him, and he's going to be a player he's still young enough to be prepared to develop, wait for his chance, and to come into that front three. I think he'd be perfect.
And he's relegated.
Yeah,
down to the ground.
Yeah, Jamal Lewis getting a lot of shout outs as well. I remember him coming to Anfield at the start of the season, and there was a few sort of whispers about him even from Grizz back at that stage, to be fair to him.
Shawnee's been all over him. Yeah,
maybe it's an option because Bayern Munich apparently are after Max Aarons, the right back off Norwich, and they're talking about 20 million for Max Aarons, and he's the jewel of their fullbacks. So if they're I know there'll be an English tax, a Liverpool tax or whatever, but I'd say you could probably get Jamal Lewis for about between 10 to 15 million.
Yeah, Shawnee's been all over Jamal Lewis. In fairness, he mentioned him months ago, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He looks quick, but he looks like he's caught on the wrong side all the time. But in fairness, as bad as they've been, which probably I'm always wary. I always say this to Phil: always wary of buying two types of players from relegated teams. A goalkeeper. I always think Everton fell for that with the lad with the short arms. You just can't buy a relegated goalkeeper. We learned that with Mignolet.
We bought a relegated left back, and it worked out pretty well. So in
fairness.
So that lad would be, I think, be perfect as well. Chris Brack is always coming in with a quality comment. Sarr and Willian, I mean, they would be amazing backups for our front three.
I've said about Willian, but I don't think the focus will be heavily on the top end of the pitch. I think there's an interesting one. I think Matthias Ginter has 1 year left to run on his contract at Gladbach, and he cemented his position in the German national team as one of their first choice centre backs. And if we're talking about bringing in players with a bit of experience, everyone is looking at this Ozan Obak or whatever his name is, the Turkish lad.
He's 20.
With Ginter's contract running down, there's supposedly Chelsea's interested and Inter's interested and Atletico's interested, but that's the type of under the radar signing where we're all looking over at this fella in the same league.
Joe Matip.
Yeah. All of a sudden pull this one out, and where he might have a year left in his contract, you might pick him up for 15 to 20 million because there's something, or Origi goes in the opposite direction to Gladbach or something like that, where you see Shaqiri going as part of the deal. I think you will see a bit more of these deals where players, they aren't necessarily included in the deal, but you'll see a sort of responsive transfer going the opposite direction.
Robertson and Kevin Stewart.
When Kevin Stewart went to
the next day,
Robertson. Yeah, stuff like that will go on and it will sort of offset the transfer fees that are going on between the two clubs. So that, to me, I think we might see something a bit left field. I do agree. I think a centre-back is going to be signed. I think we can't go into the season relying on Matip, Gomez and Hoover or Van der Berg to come through at this stage. We aren't going to drop Fabinho in as a centre-back. It doesn't make any sense. We lose too much from the midfield. But I think we'll sign a centre midfielder. I think we'll sign another centre midfielder.
Yeah. And experience, I think Andy's right about the experience. You know, for me personally, looking at Thiago and having seen him so much here, you know, even over the years, he's perfect for us in terms of what he does from deep lying positions. So you don't have to drop ever a Fabinho if the lad is fit. You don't ever have to drop a Fabinho into that centre back position again. You know, you have that. You know, I still get the jitters when Liverpool have the ball in deep lying positions. I'm always waiting for someone to steal. But this lad can have possession anywhere, and all of a sudden you've got a triumvirate really that can have the ball in any type of position. I know it's not ideal, it's not our type of sign, but I'd love to see a player like that come in. I have to say.
I think Bruce gets a run. I think he gets an opportunity in the squad. The one I think that we keep forgetting about is I still believe that Minamino is seen as one of our replacement front three options.
Through the middle though, I think.
I don't know whether it's through the middle or or on the flanks or either side of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see signings that accommodate a slight change in formation. I think Klopp is already hinted at the fact that he feels the teams are starting to figure them out and how to close them down, and he needs to find something new now to move things around and open defenses up. So I think that could be.
How do you change? How does changing a formation change anything we're doing? At the end of the day, when we have the ball, we're basically attacking with 9 players.
But it changes the way teams set up against us, and it nullifies that. It nullifies being nullified, essentially. Do you know what I mean? So everybody knows our two most dangerous players are the fullbacks, and they even the week in week out, it's exactly as probably you're thinking. Even though they know what we're going to do, they find it very, very, very difficult to
I just think I think it's very difficult to cut out the supply lines to fullbacks. It means teams have to defend against Liverpool very high, and nobody's going to do that. That's just not going to happen.
If we were
by putting the focus on our fullbacks, it means we can free up Mane and Salah so much. So I don't really see a change of shape myself. I think we just keep going the way we're going, but just definitely fresh legs in there. Somebody that can do Bobby's job, but just slightly different. You know, Minamino through the middle. I think it's
difficult.
Difficult.
No one's overcome our formula at this stage, so there's no point in getting too clever. You know what I mean? We've the points that we've accumulated between the system and the personnel,
the fullbacks in centre back and doubling up 2 fullbacks playing. I think that's counting on to us a bit this year. I think Mourinho done it with Spurs, and a few others have done it. They play 3 at the back, where usually an athletic fullback playing as a left or right sided centre back. More teams will try that. I wouldn't be surprised if we were to get, and it could be pie in the sky transfer gossip, but if we got Thiago, I wouldn't be surprised to see us switching it maybe to a 4-2-3-1.
It means that you've got a little bit more creativity in deep lying positions. It's dream stuff. Stuff. You know?
Thiago's on a plane with Arda, Turan, Semenyo, Konoplyanka, Yarmolenko.
I know, Phil, you hate these, but it's one sign that would make sense. I know you hate them.
It's never happened. You may as well say we're signing Bosco.
But it must be really frustrating for the opposition. So you defend deep against Liverpool, that's a given, and you defend the numbers, and you try and stay tight to Salah, Mane, and then next thing, Virgil gets the ball and he sprays it 50 yards, 60 yards onto the player's toe. I mean, they must be going, for fuck's sake, like, what are we supposed to do here? Giving players with Virgil's vision and ability, or Trent's vision and ability, the chance to get their head up. It's the Premier League. You shouldn't get your head up. Players,
you
players
saw it, Ray, with Frank Lampard. That's what pissed Frank Lampard off so much. I mean, that's a foul for starters. And the right back picks it up 30 yards from goal and pings it in the top corner. There's nothing you can do about that. And that's what's so frustrating about it.
No, you can't. No, I mean, just a quick one in terms of some of the players who we essentially have, and we could bring back and make something of. So does anyone think Grujic comes back and does anything?
And does what?
Yes.
So that's a no.
I think he has a brilliant pre-season. Best
as he always does.
Harry Wilson?
No.
He's Harry Kewell.
Hasn't got the legs, hasn't got the pace.
Gone to Australia.
And it sounds like there's a bit of a split of opinion on Brewster coming back and doing something.
No, I think Phil's right. I think Phil was right. He can do a job for us. I just don't think I made a point months ago that I didn't think he was especially good at anything. But to be honest, he looks quick. He looks sharp, quick. He looks strong. Yeah. To be fair.
And we don't trigger either of the Sacco or Ings buybacks, no?
Yeah, Sacco's coming back. His ankle is fixed.
Sacco for skipper, remember?
Do you know, taking United as example, and the kids that they have playing up top now, when you're sort of fighting for Europe, you have the luxury of being able to throw a dice, and that's paid off for them.
Big time.
With us, I think at the level we're at now, and mistakes will have huge impact. Especially when the league gets won with in the high 90s now.
Yeah.
It'd be difficult to blood in someone like Brewster and Curtis Jones. So I think Curtis Jones is the one that gets loads of games next season, and maybe Brewster goes on loan to a Premier League team, because look, he's only dipping his toe in the water now. It wasn't maybe 6 weeks ago people were kind of writing Brewster off, and all of a sudden he scored loads of goals. Yes, so be no harm. Just as we are talking up Pulisic there, just as we are talking up Fernandes, this stuff is relatively short term. Let him have a loan in the Premier League with the agreement that he's going to play every game, and see how that goes.
Does anybody think that we need a fresh backup goalkeeper? Because Atletico Madrid still annoys me.
No,
really?
No,
I think we just have to live with it and accept that. We shouldn't be really seeing too much of any backup goalkeeper.
The idiocy that I've heard going on about this is just it's
not Reina. I wouldn't bring Reina back in. I agree with you.
No, not Reina.
Really?
Adrian is a perfect.
Just give him another year.
He's Mignolet level of goalkeeper, and Mignolet level is a perfect backup goalkeeper for a top 6 Premiership side. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. If you look at your top 6 and you look at the backup goalkeepers that are in there, with the exception of Arsenal, whose backup keeper is better than their first choice keeper.
100%, yeah.
That's the only one that you have that.
It upsets me, Phil, that it was our second best performance, in my opinion, of the season against Atletico Madrid at Anfield, and we lost that game. And we lost it well because of him, solely because of him.
Pete, he was unbeaten in the Premier League. He went the whole when Alisson was missing those for the first 8 to 10 games, we went unbeaten through the whole thing and won all the matches. So
can't argue.
I made that point, and somebody said that he made horrific errors against Leicester and Southampton. Southampton, he kicked the ball to Ings, and the Leicester mistake wasn't really a mistake. The ball was put low to his left, went under him. I mean, Phil there is the expert in goalkeeping in the world. What do you think of that one? if you can remember. It's
You choose not to.
a ball's very
It's on mute.
That silence, I know that silence.
a ball's very close. A ball's very close to your body. Hard to save.
Andy, we didn't lose any of those matches. I don't care what.
Yeah.
When
And
we
it was
were-
the same.
The
It was the
union.
same. It was the same when Alisson was making his mistakes until obviously we lost the Arsenal game off. Connected to one of his mistakes. But
Alisson's kicked the ball against the defender before.
but Alisson is going to play all our Champions League games and all our Premier League games unless he's injured. So it's
Adrian Cup game. FA Cup. If there is a League Cup, I don't even know if there's going to be a League Cup. That's what he's going to be doing at the end of the day, isn't it?
People forget the night that we tonked Everton in Anfield. He had to step in because Alisson was suspended. Not a bother. You know what I mean?
Well, Everton are a bad example. The worst team.
No, Pete, it's not a bad example because every time he stepped in, he did what we needed him to do in the Premier League, and that's all you can ask a backup goalkeeper to do.
Fair enough.
I think what the issue, some of the, I mean, just going back to what Andy was saying around some of these players, some of the younger players who've now got to try and break through. They're not going to be breaking through in a team that's targeting low 70s and Champions League football next season. And the luxury, as Andy says, about blooding new players in just isn't there. It's going to be tough for Nico Williams, for Harvey Elliott, for Hoover. For Brewster to get any real serious game time to kick on, they might get an opportunity through an injury, and then they're going to have to grasp it with both hands. Dare I say, a Trent going out for 8 games and Nico having to come in and fill for 8 games, a bit like Adrian himself had to fill for 8 or 9 games. So, that's just a dilemma that's going to be around the wider squad for the next few years, you would have to say. But look, we'll move on. We'll close out the last few minutes with Champions League. Is anyone actually looking to Champions League? Looking forward to Champions League now?
No.
Phil, you can head on.
I can't because I have to edit this. So
There's no editing. This is perfect.
There is, but you have to put into the thing to make the equalising and the whole lot, so I can make either say brainstorm or green Lanny, whatever it is. Did you see that one? Your woman, if you listen to it a certain way, it either says brainstorm or green something. I can't remember what it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Here,
Whatever you're looking at, it's like green something or brainstorm. But if you actually listen and if you think in your head green storm, you'll hear it saying green storm. And if you think the other one will say brain something. And what it is it's all to do with the equalization that's based on the tracks, because it's all to do with frequency levels. So when you concentrate on something, you can hear the higher frequency levels.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. And it's actually more interesting than talking about the Champions League because the Champions League isn't real this year.
No, it's not happening. It's null and void.
There's lives at stake, guys. This has to be cancelled before more people die. So
I mean, think of the humanity. So I agree with Andy.
It's so important we just cancel this Champions League and just start the new one.
Yeah,
I want to watch that. I need to watch the NFL Network. They've started.
Actually, don't start the new one.
Until there's a cure, don't start a new anything.
We'll let them play the Europa League out, though. Yeah.
United might win that. So
you're not allowed to play the Europa League. You have to go to Azerbaijan and everything to play those games. That's
exactly
way off.
Is that what is that where I haven't even looked that up? Is that where they go?
And you have Narnia Rovers in the next round of that.
They're going through a 5th wave at the moment. That's how far ahead of us they are. So it's not on.
47 likes, Keith. Only 47 likes, Avo says. It's not good enough for a totally free show.
Show, come on, hit the likes.
Yes, Chris Brack. I'm all over Chris Brack tonight. Madrid knock out City. Man U lose final to Inter Milan with Sanchez, Lukaku, and Young all scoring. Yes, Brack.
Big shout.
Let the games begin.
Has Madrid got any chance against City? I mean, say
Madrid.
Say for example, they get an early. If they get an early goal, we see how City react to adversity.
Manchester City can't defend.
If they don't raid, they're going to give them all coronavirus, so City won't be able to play in the next round. So, job done. No matter what happens, City are going.
As long as you've got Fernandinho in your back four, you've got a chance of conceding goals. Or
Otamendi. I presume. Obviously, that's the second leg, technically as it is a City home game. So
Yeah, that's a cheat.
essentially, Madrid are, if they score, they count. They do count as away goals, presumably,
Count double,
even though it's on a neutral. Okay, so that's not bad.
They won't be allowed to travel.
Hopefully not. Null and void.
So when does that? That's all due to start next midweek, is it?
August, just after the Marlins play the Phillies.
The rearranged Corona Bowl
In a bubble. Did you see a man that basketballer took a day off and headed off and then ended up in the strip club and then said he was just stopping off for wings after a funeral? Like, honestly, that's madness.
Did you see FSG out and FSG out in Boston found each other last night?
Yeah, I did.
I'm surprised it took so long. There was it was very romantic. They were coming together, just saying that. Like one comment was like, you know, I'm so happy I found you because like you're going through the same torture as we are.
Well, they're not causing each other. Surely there's like there can't be a common arrangement because they blame each other for why there's no money in either.
Yeah,
club.
but I think maybe that's why talks have broken down. But last night they opened talks again, and they were able to have a conversation to just kind of mutually agree that FSG are very bold, and that first World Series in 1,000 years and that first league in 30 years doesn't really matter. What's more important is spending beyond your means. That's what's
bring
more
back Balotelli.
So they're calling
the press.
they're
Linda
calling
Oldroy and highlights done today. The day after the Red Sox let Mookie Betts go. Coincidence?
Yeah.
I don't.
So what they're actually calling for is winning the league. Winning the league is not important. It's sustained success, and how they want to achieve sustained success is by spending in such a way that is beyond your means. So
that's where we're going wrong, is it?
Yeah. So sustained success can be achieved by spending in an unsustainable way.
Yeah, Rizdale for chairman. Get Peter Rizdale in here.
That's the solution. Right. So the plan is we just spend everything we have and then hopefully we win the lotto.
Yeah.
Like Leeds. Exactly like Leeds.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of have won the lotto, really. It is the champions of everything. It is. It was actually quite pleasant listening to us referred to as the champions in the summary of the games on Sunday. And we're going to get that. What's that? Chris Smalling? No, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know. You see them sneaky fucks United aren't extending Smalling and Alexis their contracts on loan because both of them are still in the Europa League. So they're not extending them with Inter and Roma. So no, you send them back. In their opposition. Good quality. The highest order.
So look, it is the champions of everything. We're going to wrap up. We've managed to get through quite a bit in just under an hour and a half, and we only got 43 likes. Oh, geez. Okay, we must do better next time. We might need to sort of improve our.
We're taking a week off as well.
Oh, we're taking a week off, are we? Yeah,
it's a bank holiday
plan, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we could do on a Tuesday, I suppose, if we really wanted to. Yeah.
If something happens, what's going to happen? Because you see, Shaqiri's up the side of a mountain today. So Shaqiri's up the side of the mountain. Nobody's doing anything.
2 weeks holidays. We're looking forward to all the snaps
next week. So they'll all be back.
There's, by the way, I have a nugget. 2 signings by this time next week.
Yeah, go on.
Wow.
Oh well, I'm not going to name them.
Not naming names.
My source close to the club has told me that there's 2 medicals lined up.
That's
stuff we love. Perfect content for Grizz. Oh, it'd be like a new signing Phil next season.
Yeah.
Nappy lads.
Along with Minamino.
Yeah, lad.
We're going to have the Anfield transfer agenda show on Thursday, so we can leave all this talk for then.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's a really original name. A couple of, transfer Anfield agenda. It's,
exercise.
I mean, who owns any of them words? Does anyone own them words?
In the order, Andy. In the order.
I'm not aware that anybody owns any of them words. So
Anfield
that
transfer
is the name of the show. And that will be the name of the show.
By the time you finish, Andy, yeah.
So you're listening, Gav.
I think Gav is kicking things off on. Is it Thursday? He's kicking things off. I don't know. It's later this week anyway. He's on every day. Keith bunks off work for 15 minutes every day. So tune in on your work from home. Reschedule your work from home patterns to tune in to Keith. What time do you normally go live, Keith? About 4 o'clock?
Yeah, it depends, right? Could be any time. I think it's actually going to be Gav will be doing the next one. So
okay.
Now we'd keep him on that toes.
Yeah, fair play. Right, an hour and a half. We will wrap up and we'll speak to you next week or maybe not.